So this video is about how to change brake pads on a Chevy Express cargo van, and it's pretty simple. The first thing you have to do is lift up your car, jack up your car. You can see we already did the other side, but you jack up your car, uh, lift up your car with the jack, then hold it with the stands, which I'll show you shortly. Then remove the tire. So we're doing this side now. Remove the tire, and we'll get to the brake pads in a minute. So anytime you jack up the cars, like with the jack, you can see this is the jack here. Anytime you jack up the car, get some stands, like you see, that's a stand, and the other one is a stand. Don't try to work on your car with a jack, because the jack can slip, and if you go under the car, or if the jack slips and you're working on the car, it's very dangerous. So get some stands, lift up the car with the jack, and bring the car down slowly to sit on the stands before you start working on the car. That's for safety. So now we changing brake pads on that side of the tire. We already did the driver side, so now we're doing the passenger side. So we lift this side. Now we're lifting. That's why the jack is closer to this side than the other side. So now we remove this tire and we get to the brake pads. So make sure you loosen your lug nuts. The lug nuts, these bolts, the tire bolts, they are called lug nuts. Make sure you loosen them up before you lift the car up. So loosen them up first. Then lift the car up, because they see they are loose now. After the car is up and you have the jack stand holding the car, now you can easily remove this tire. So because you can't loosen them up when the tire is on the air. You see the tire is on the air? I don't know if you can see the car is up on the air, and you can't loosen them up when the tire is on the air. So loosen them up before you lift the car up. So now we remove this tire and we'll get to the brake pads. So you just basically pull this lug nut off like that, quick. So you can see now all the lug nuts are off. So basically now the tire just comes loose. Just pull the tire out, just like that. Pull the tire on the side. Sometimes you can put the tire under the vehicle, just in case the vehicle falls. It falls on something, it lands on the tire. But we have the jack stands here, so you can see the car is safe to work on right now. So basically, these are the brake pads are in here. This thing here is called the caliper. The caliper holds the brake pads. This is called the rotor. That's the rotor. And the brake pads, when you step on your brakes, the brake pads, there's one brake pad on this side here, there's another brake pad in the back here. It's two brake pads. So when you step on the brake, you can see this pipe here. This is the brake fluid. There's a brake fluid. When you put brake fluid in your car, it comes and greases the caliper, and when you step on your brakes, the suction pulls the brake pads together and it stops your car. So when the brake pads wear off, you start hearing the screeching, the noise, and sometimes it causes these lines you see here. This is the rotor. It can be changed too, but today we are not changing that. That can survive a few more months, so we're not changing the rotors. But once in a while you change the brakes and the rotors together. But today we're just changing the brake pads. So the brake pads are in here. To change the brake pads, you need to remove the caliper. There's two bolts. There's one up here I don't know if you can see it. And there's another one down here. That. And there's another one up here. So it's 2 bolts. You remove those two bolts here, this one, the one at the bottom, and the one on top here. Then the caliper, this caliper here comes up like this, and you put it up here. You can hang it up here, put it up here, so you can deal with the brake pads. So I'll show you that shortly. So one thing I have to say before I forget, this bolt and this bolt here, to break them loose, you'll need a breaker bar. A breaker bar is something like this. You need a breaker bar to break loose those 2 bolts, because they are because of the heat in the brakes and all that, they are very tight. So you'll need a breaker bar. It took me a little while to break them loose, but once you break them loose, everything else is easy. So you remove this bolt and remove this bolt. After you break them loose, they're easy to remove. You can take them off. Like I'll show you shortly how you do about that. So these are the 2 caliper bolts. You see, once you break them loose, they come out just like you pull them out like that. That's the lower one. Put it down there. There's the top one. You break them loose, then you just pull it out. See, the thread is only up here. So you just, once you break loose, you can see, you just pull it out. So those are the 2 bolts that hold this caliper here. So now this caliper will come off. So what you need to do is get a screwdriver and pry the caliper out. The caliper is now loose. It's just being held because of the tension. This is the brake. See the brake pad. This is a brake pad, and it's just being held by the tension that was there. So if you get a screwdriver like this, get a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, just ply it out. Ply out the caliper on the top here, the side here, then on the bottom here, on the side. Because you see, that's the brake pad. The brake pad is this part here. That's the brake pad. That's what we try to change. So you pry the caliper out. This caliper here, see, it's loose. So we're gonna use a screwdriver to pry it out, then we'll see what's gonna happen. So once you remove the caliper, you can see one bolt goes here, one bolt goes here. Then you just hang up the caliper up here. You can use a wire. This is the caliper. This is what holds the brake pads. You put it up here. Sometimes it can be hard to remove that caliper. It can be very tight. You have to fight with it a little bit, but eventually it will come out. And now this is what we need. These are the brake pads. This is what stops your car. They are very easy to come. They just come there. They're just sitting right here. This one, another one on this side. So you just ply them out. This is the rotor, and these are the brake pads. They're just being held by the caliper, but now the caliper is loose. You can just hit them out, like they will just come off. They will just come off loose. If you look, just hit them or pull them out. Sometimes they just come off by themselves, but you have to understand they've been sitting there for a long time with all the heat. The brakes have so much heat, so sometimes you can just hit them out. They will just come off. Get something and knock them out. So you can see the old brake pads. One goes here, the other one goes in here. So you can see the difference between the new one, the new brake pad, These are the new brake pads. See how thick they are? See how thick? These are the new ones that we're gonna put in. That's how thick they are. These are the brakes. Look at the old ones. How thin they are, especially this one. So right now, when I see one is like this one is the old one, this one is thinner than this one, I already know there's a problem with the caliper in the car because they're supposed to wear out evenly. So I have to check that. But you can see the new ones, how thick they are. These are the brake pads now. And they will go in here. One will go in here, the other one will go in here. Then the caliper will come down and hold them because of those bolts. That's how you change the brake pads. Let's put them in and see how they look. So what happens is this is a new one, huh? So it goes in like this, like that. There's a clip. There's this metal clip here, which will go up here, and there's another one here. Because you don't want to put the ends of the caliper, that angle there on a metal, you get hot. That's why you use that metal clip. Then you have to put some grease on that metal clip. This fluid here is called the brake lubricant. You put that on the metal. Then you put some on the back of the brake pad, and then you put the brake pad in, put the caliper back in, and put some grease, some brake lubricant on those caliper bolts. Then you put everything together, and your car is good to go. Just make sure when anytime you're changing your brakes, because you have to use the C-clamp, and I'll show you shortly what the C-clamp is for. Make sure you open your master cylinder brake fluid. See that? See how it's open like that? Because when you use a C-clamp to press the caliper pistons, you can break you can mess up your master cylinder, which is this here with the brake fluid, or you can break some of the brake lines that go from the master cylinder to the tire. You have a brake lines. For example, if you look down here, that's a brake line here, and you have brake lines coming all the way here. They push the fluid to the brake so that your car can stop and get maintain lubrication. So we'll put the brake pads in. Then I'll show you how to compress the caliper. This caliper, the brake pads are too thick. So because the old ones were very thin, that's why these pistons are out. But you have to compress these ones back in. That's why you're opening the master cylinder. You have to compress them back in. That's why I have that C-clamp there. You compress them back in, and then you put in the brakes. Let's look at this. So when the brake pads go in, they're supposed to sit like this. You see that? Make sure they sit on this clip here, on the inside and the outside. Then now we'll put some grease over here because the caliper will be holding here. So we need to put some grease here on this side here too, and on this clip up here, we put some brake lubricant to make sure that your brakes are always lubricated and working properly. So that's the next step. Then we'll put back we'll compress the caliper piece, this caliper here. We compress these two pieces, we compress them, and so that they can fit here. And that's the next step before we put the car together, and the job is done. Let's do that. So see, once you grease the brake pad, see, you put the grease on the back of the brake pad, on this side, on the other side, on the clips. Now the last thing, the major thing you have to do, you see these two this caliper here, will come to be attached to the brake pad. That's the caliper is gonna hold the brake pads, and it has these pistons here. So the thing is, you have to compress them all the way in. You push these two calipers all the way in, so that when it comes here, it can fit. It can fit right here. If you just put it like this, the way it is, it's not gonna fit in here. And I'll show you shortly how it sits, because you see it has remember the two bolts, one bolt here, one bolt on the other side. One bolt has to go in here, and the other bolt has to go up in here. So it has to hold it like this, like a jacket. It has to hold it. So with this caliper piston sitting like that, it's not gonna fit. So you can use one of the old brake pads like this. This is the old brake pad. Use it here, put it here. Take the C-clamp and compress those pistons until they go in. Let me show you. So this is what you do. You take this brake pad here, the old one that you removed, you put it right there next to those pistons, the caliper. Then you take your C-clamp like this. See the C-clamp? This is a C-clamp. Check this out. Take your C-clamp like this. Put your C-clamp right in here. Watch how this goes. The C-clamp will come in there. You close it and compress. Compress them until they go there all the way in, like this. See that? That's what we're doing, compressing them with a C-clamp all the way in until it's flush. You have to make sure you compress them until they become flush. You can't see them anymore. Compress them all the way in. See that? Keep compressing them. That's the work of the C-clamp in this changing brakes. All the way in until they become flush. Until we can't see them no more. See that? Then you loosen your C-clamp now. Loosen your C-clamp. Okay, we see one is still, this one here is still there. So maybe that's, I will tell you something. Maybe there's, okay, let's try and compress it. Maybe it will tell you there's something wrong with that side of the caliper. We'll find out. Maybe that's why the brake pad are they're wearing out unevenly, you know. So that's how you learn. So let's try again, do it. See. We'll know soon if it's stuck. going in. Has to be flush. You can see now they are both flush. So now the job of the C-clamp is done. The job of the C-clamp is done. So if you look now, you can see the caliper now is flush. Everything is flush. Everything is in there. You see now there's enough space for the brake pads to fit in. So now we're gonna put the brake pads in. Watch. Now we're gonna put the caliper onto the brake pads. Okay. Alright, so you see now how the caliper is sitting on the brake pads. This is the caliper now, it's down. Now you see now this is the top bolt, and this one here is the second bolt. You put some grease on the bolts, both bolts. Then you push that bolt in, and you can see the thread is all the way up here. So you push it in, push the bottom one in, and screw them back in. Then you remember the master cylinder is open, so when we were compressing the caliper, we didn't mess up any brake lines. I was checking the brake lines. Nothing is leaking because we opened the master cylinder in the engine. So now we put the bolts back in, and we're gonna put all the. This is the final part. Now we're gonna put lock that bolt, and then lock this lower bolt. And what you do after is drive your car for about 5-10 minutes, stepping on the brakes. Compress the brakes, step on the brakes until they get hard. Once they get hard, drive your car for about 10 minutes, stepping on your brakes, making them hard, slowly, so that the car can get used to the new brake pads. And the caliper, which is this one here, and you can see there's brake fluid coming into the caliper, can have the fluid coming in, and your car can because the caliper has to open up, because we compress the caliper with a C-clamp. Remember we did that. So you have to step on your brakes, put some pressure on your brakes for about 5 minutes until they get a little hard. Drive your car for about 10 minutes, slow, pumping your brakes, and your brakes will come back to normal. That's how you change the brake pads. This is a Chevy Express cargo van. If you have any questions, ask down there in the comment section, and feel free to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. If I missed a step, let me know. Okay, good day.